everybody, my name is Mairead and welcome to my channel. Today I just kind of wanted to sit down and do a chit chat, get ready with me. I just wanted to put on my makeup and just kind of ramble on about certain things. So yeah, and I'm sorry if my mirror is in the way. It's kind of big and I can't really lower my mirror. So I kind of wanted to talk about relationships and those kinds of things. Granted, my last relationship was like 6 months ago, so it's not like it was super recent, but I just feel like that relationship was so dysfunctional and I was treated so poorly throughout the duration of that relationship. I feel like I learned a lot in regards of future relationships and things like that. I was in a relationship with someone who was a bit older than me. We were together for a year and a half, and it was a very one-sided relationship. I feel like I wasn't really treated with respect by him or his family, and he spent a lot of time putting me down, if that makes sense. And it just wasn't that great of a relationship. And at the time, I was so out of it mentally. I was dealing with a lot of stuff in school, and my depression and anxiety wasn't in check, if that makes sense. And he didn't really get that. He didn't get what it was like dealing with depression and anxiety. And I also deal with insomnia, and within the past year, I have PTSD now. And it's not like super bad, but I do get flashbacks occasionally, and I do deal with nightmares a lot of the time. And he didn't get that. He didn't get me going to therapy. He didn't get me seeing a psychiatrist. He didn't get some of the things I had been through. He didn't understand even just the things I'd been through during school, because I had gone through a lot and had been through a lot. And because I was so naive and everything, I feel like that's why I stayed for as long as I did. And I'm not even the one who broke it off. He was the one who broke it off. But I had been honestly feeling for months before that had happened that I wasn't wanting to be in that relationship anymore. And because he was a bit older than me, I feel like he looked at me like I was a child, even though my maturity level was probably a lot higher than his. And I don't know, I was treated so poorly throughout that entire relationship. And I remember he went with me shopping once, and we were at Forever 21, and I was looking at clothes, and he was like, oh, well, don't you need a 3X? No, I've never been a 3X. I've never been a 2X. Even at my heaviest point, I wasn't even really a 1X. I've always been like a large, extra large in sizing, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I still have never thought there was anything wrong with that. And he was just always so judgmental, and he didn't really understand my interests. He didn't get the things that I was interested in. He especially didn't understand the like my interest with the sounders. He didn't get that at all. I took him to a game once, and he literally spent the entire time complaining. Like, ridiculously complaining. And he spent a lot of the time just asking questions, which, I mean, I get. If you've never really seen soccer, I get the need to ask questions. But at the same time, it was a bit ridiculous, and it was hard for me to really focus on the game or really get into it the way I do usually get into it. And he always kind of made me feel ashamed of myself a lot of the times, because he did put me down so much. And I feel like because he always looked at me like I was a kid that didn't help anything at all. And so there was that. And then when a friend and former classmate had committed suicide, I took it extremely hard, and I felt guilty, and I still feel guilty to this day about it. And he didn't get that. He didn't get what it was like to lose someone. And I think since I was about 12, maybe even 11, I have literally had somebody I've known die every year, and I've been to a couple funerals, and it's usually a couple funerals a year. And granted, I was also an altar server at my church, so I served at funerals a lot too, which was also part of the reasons why I went to funerals all the time. But it was like he didn't understand what it was like to lose someone. And after that happened, I was just so beyond depressed, and I couldn't really focus on school or anything like that because it was super traumatizing. And after that had happened too, that's when the nightmares really started. And they were just horribly graphic nightmares about my friend and about the way he died and everything like that. And even just thinking about it kind of overwhelms me. And I mean, I haven't had those nightmares in a really long time because I am on a lot of different sleeping medications. I'm on 2 different sleeping medications, but I also take another medication for my depression at night, which helps a bit. And it was just always, he didn't get it, and he was always just made it seem like during that period of time that I had to be my normal self, and I still had to go on dates and be just this perky human being, and I was definitely not that at the time. And it was around Valentine's Day, and I had flat out said, I don't want to do anything for Valentine's Day. I don't want to do any of that because my head was not in it. I didn't feel right about celebrating Valentine's Day. I didn't feel right just celebrating in general. And he just didn't care about what I wanted to do. He just cared about himself. And he showed up to my house on Valentine's Day and then, you know, gave me gifts and all that kind of stuff. And I literally had gotten him, like, nothing. Because I had flat out said, I don't want to do this. And he didn't listen, which is fine. But it was still really annoying. And then we got into a fight that same day about it. Because he's like, well, do you even love me? And blah, 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 blah. I was like, you know what? If you are mourning, you should be supportive. If someone you know is mourning, you should be supportive and be there for them and not have this selfish attitude and be a jackass about it, which is exactly how I felt. And even before that had happened, I just felt like I wasn't happy. And he was constantly trying to push me to go to church with him when I'm a Catholic, and he's like one of those like Protestant Christian type deals where they don't really, I don't know, they act like they know everything, or at least he did. And he'd only been baptized and going to church for like 2 years, and I spent my entire childhood going to church. I went to a Catholic elementary school back when we lived in Seattle and here where I currently live. And you know, I was an altar server for the longest time and was the head person of the altar serving, so I helped do the schedule and all that kind of shit. And even then, he still acted like he knew everything and carried on like he had read the Bible front to back so many times and knew everything, but then was so hypocritical of what the Bible actually says that it was so ridiculous. And I always got so pissed off when he tried to lecture me about the Bible, because when you go to Catholic school, you have a religion class, so you learn about the Bible, you learn about Christianity and all that kind of stuff, and Catholicism. And you know, so spending preschool up doing that, I knew a lot, and I still to this day know a lot about Catholicism and everything. And my mom, you know, worked as a teacher at a Catholic school for like 20 years or whatever, and then 20 years total, and worked as a principal at the Catholic school here where I live now. And so, you know, we were very much a religious family. But then after my mom's accident that she had my junior year, going to church wasn't that of a big deal, basically, because there was just so many other things to worry about. And so that was always frustrating. And the fact that he always put me down was really frustrating. And I just remember when we broke up, it was literally over a fight about fucking Rogue One. Like, that's how stupid he was. Because he was, like, telling me, he was like, well, do you even know what Rogue One's supposed to be about? Yeah, I do. I am a Star Wars fan. Hell, when I was in elementary school, this friend of mine, we had created our own little Star Wars club, and he had a rat tail, and it was just, I mean, we were obsessed, and that was all he and I would talk about was Star Wars. And granted, that was when we were in like the 2nd grade. But yeah, and so that's how stupid that was. And I just remember the first day after we broke up, I was sad, but not even really that sad. And I just remember I literally boxed everything he had ever given me, which wasn't that much. It was just a bunch of freaking Beanie Babies, which I didn't even really like. It was just a bunch of Beanie Babies that I didn't even really like, and I didn't really like in general, and I didn't like him when he bought me them because it kind of made me feel like I was a child. And yeah, and then he literally started dating someone like not even a month after we broke up. So, you know, he was a real fucking prize winner, is basically what I'm saying. But I just feel like during that relationship, and during even just past relationships in general, I feel like I am more aware of what I want in a relationship and more aware of how I want to be treated in a relationship. Because, you know, I want someone who's going to be supportive, to be there for me, and would want to, you know, would be willing to do some of the things I like, even if they don't necessarily like it. And, you know, my personality is kind of all over the place. My music taste is all over the place. Because, you know, I really like watching K-dramas. I really like listening to K-pop, and I have a lot of, you know, side passions as well that I feel like just in general not a lot of people get. But I would still like someone to be in a relationship with someone who, even if they don't really get it, they'll still be supportive of it. So there's that. And then I don't know, I just feel like dating has become such a, not necessarily a novelty, but I feel like people don't treat dating the same way that it was treated a while back. Like, people don't look at it the same, which I think is part of the problem. And I think so very much so now with the technology age, we are so dependent on our electronics, and we're so dependent of being in front of a screen and looking at a screen. And, you know, then there's the whole online dating thing and all those kinds of things. And, I don't know. I think we shouldn't settle. Just in general, we shouldn't settle. I think even if you are at that point in your life where you want to get married or you want to start thinking about getting married, I don't think you should settle for just any old guy. I think it should be someone who you do actually love, who you do have something in common with, that is supportive and will be there for you. And I just sometimes think we forget that, and I hate it when I see these girls on Instagram or Twitter or whatever who are with these guys who treat them so poorly, and they just take it. They don't fight back or even consider moving into a different relationship, which always kind of breaks my heart. Because I do feel like we should try to be the best person we can be, and we should try and be with someone who complements that. And with my relationship, I regret it a lot, because I don't think I should be treated in the way that I was treated. And I feel like whenever I do go into another relationship, I want to be treated well. I want someone who isn't going to think that my hobbies and my personality are something that need to be suppressed for their liking. I just think there are certain things in a relationship that you do kind of need to accept. And I think personality is one of those things that you can't change. And you can't force someone to like something they don't like. And I feel like I was kind of forced into that in a way. Because I remember I would get stuck watching The Walking Dead. I don't like The Walking Dead. I tried to watch season 1 and I didn't necessarily like it. Just because if I'm going to watch something involving zombies, I'm going to watch Train to Busan. I mean, let's get real here. If I'm watching anything regarding zombies, I'm watching Train to Busan or I'm watching Dead Snow. Those are the only zombie movies I will watch. Well, and iZombie too. I watch that sometimes, but not as much anymore as I did. And I don't know, I didn't like it. But then every time I wasn't fully engaging in the show, he would bitch me out like I fucking murdered somebody. It was just so ridiculous in all definitions of the word. And I think for me personally, the next time I go into a relationship, I don't want somebody who doesn't think that going on dates isn't important. I want dates to be important. I want to go on dates that are special, not just going out for fucking froyo all the time. Because I don't even really like froyo. And I don't really want to have to always feel like I'm in competition with their family, which is how I felt a lot of the time too. And I think if I ever, get into a new relationship, I don't want to settle. I don't want to feel like I'm being forced to do things. I don't want to feel like that I'm not really loved to a point. And I think there is importance of, having someone who thinks that you are actually beautiful and will tell you that, not just say it once or twice throughout the duration of the entire relationship. Because to me, that should have been a red flag for me. And as I look back on that relationship now, it is a red flag for me. And I just think that, I want someone who will be willing to sit there and watch Korean dramas with me. And even if they don't like it, they would still be willing to try and enjoy it with me. And even with, other things, I always remember just trying to be supportive and try and like it. Even if I didn't like it, I would still try and watch it with them, even if I wasn't necessarily 100% tuned in. But I think, like anyone, I want to find Mr. Right. And, I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to be in a stable romantic relationship that isn't just solely based off of sex or anything like that. And I think the reason why I write a lot, if you don't know this, I have a second Tumblr that isn't under my name. It's under just a URL name, and I write fan fictions. And I mainly stick to romance because that's what I like to write about. And I think the reason why I like to write about romance, why I like watching romantic movies and reading trashy romantic novels, is because that's what I want. I want to be made to feel like I'm special and that, not necessarily feel like a princess, because I just think that's cheesy beyond compare. But I do, you watch, when I watch K-dramas, they are sometimes so ridiculously cheesy, but I feel like because there isn't sex involved in those shows, I think I've only seen one or two where there was actually mentions of sex. But, I think, not always wanting to do PDA is fine. I never really have liked that. Even when I was a kid, I didn't really like to be touched to a point. And I don't like to, be in public and want to just make out every 2 seconds. That is not who I am. I will never be that person. And with Korean dramas, that is very much how it is. You don't really show huge amounts of PDA. And I think, like, one of the big things that they always do is that before they kiss on the lips, or when you think that they are going to kiss, the guy always just kisses them on the forehead, which I love. I think that shows that you really are in love with that person. To me, that's what it shows. And, I feel like sometimes my expectations for relationships are ridiculous. But at the same time, I don't want to settle for in a relationship where I'm not 100% happy. I don't want that. And I feel like that is what I've spent every past relationship I've been in doing. I wasn't 100% happy and wasn't made to feel special or was made to feel loved or beautiful or anything like that. And I just think, all of us shouldn't settle. And we should be made to feel special and loved and to feel beautiful. And I think some people forget that. And, I want to be able to go on dates and have a fun time. I want that kind of cheesy, out of romance movie kind of relationship, even though I know that's unrealistic. But at the same time, I can dream. But yeah, I don't think we should have to settle. And I do think we need standards for guys. For me especially, because I feel like I've dated a lot of shit-ass guys who have never really treated me nicely, who never really were nice to me. And I don't want to be made to feel like an object that's only there to obey them, which is how I felt in my last relationship. I don't know, I want something more. I want a relationship to be more meaningful than what I have dealt with in the past. And I know my past relationships, it wasn't like it was all the guy's fault. I know that I did some wrongdoings as well. But I feel like, knocking someone down for having crushes on celebrities, that's, who the fuck cares? Everyone has a celebrity crush. And just because, I have a celebrity crush doesn't mean that I'm going to run off with them. I don't even know the person in real life. I could be completely incompatible with that person in real life. In my last relationship, that was always something that he would get pissed off about and yell at me about, because I would watch a few of my Korean dramas that had an actor that I really like. One actor that I really like is Kim Woo-bin, and I've always found him attractive, even though a lot of people don't. But I shouldn't be criticized for having a crush on a celebrity. I shouldn't be criticized for having a crush on a musician or anything like that. And I feel like, that shouldn't, who cares? And, most of the time you're never going to meet celebrities that you like unless you want to pay a couple $100 to, meet them at Comic-Con or to meet them for backstage passes for a concert. I just feel like my past relationships, I've been mistreated throughout all of them, and I don't really want that the next go. And I feel like, I mean, granted, I'm not going to get married anytime soon, but I do want to eventually get married, and I don't want to date 1,000 guys before I meet the right guy. And, you know, I joke a lot on Twitter about wanting Mr. Right to be Park Hyung-sik, which, you know, if it is him, well, that's fucking great, but it won't be. And I do the Man Crush Monday thing on my videos, but that's just to be kind of joking, because I know that in reality is never going to happen. But at the same time, I want it to be someone who I do love with 100% of my heart, and not have some sort of sliver of resentment towards, or not feel 100% with. And yeah, I don't know, I just think, and I just wish relationships would be better, and that everyone would be treated better. Regardless, male or female. I think that's important. Yeah. Sorry if I rambled on a bit too much. I know I probably did. I have a tendency to do that. But yeah. So, thank you for watching this video. I will link everything I used in the description box, even though I didn't say the names out loud and things like that. But yeah, I will see you in my next video.